Hello and welcome to the first ever episode of this new podcast, new format. It's called Streamer Consciousness, okay? Kind of like stream
Like
of
that.
consciousness. So, because, obviously with the way people's minds work, it's a stream of consciousness. I thought it would be quite nice. And with streamers, so that's a thing. My name's Gideon. I go by Gid or Gidawid on twitch.tv and also on other platforms as well. And it's been a while since I've done a podcast officially, but people have been telling me for a long time, hey, you have a nice voice and you should do a podcast again. So here we are now with my first ever guest, absolutely captivating individual. She has been around on the scene for a long time in terms of in content creation, if we want to call it that. And her name is Gerald. Gerald, thank you very much for being here. I appreciate it.
I was expecting something. God damn it.
The
Hello.
giraffe. But yes, also Freya Nightingale.
Gerald. Yeah, this is Freya. Hello.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
My name is Freya, and I stream on Twitch under Freya's Plays. I used to I don't want to say I used to do YouTube because I don't want to like put that into like existence. I still do YouTube, but I don't post that often. So that's good. But I stream pretty much every day on Twitch. That's where I'm like most happy. So yeah, I would kind of just say I'm a streamer at this point.
Absolutely.
More so than a YouTuber. But I used to do YouTube and not Twitch. Twitch was scary, bro. Like, Twitch scared me.
That's interesting, because, like, obviously I was going to start with, like, for this podcast in general, for all intents and purposes, trying to highlight and talk about the journey that people go on when it comes to streaming, people figuring out streaming, how they started up, where they see themselves going, what inspired them, that kind of thing. So I wanted to start with like what was it that made you decide like I'm going to start streaming of all things? So
literally G, obviously you know G, she has been streaming for a long time now. I think it's been 3 years, and I always watched her stream and would be like, oh my god, like I could never do what she's doing, like because it's like a lot of pressure, because obviously when you do YouTube there's a lot of cuts and you're in control of the edit and you're in control of like the final result, whereas on Twitch it's like if you say something wrong or if you leak something, like that's gone out to potentially like hundreds of people, and that's quite scary. So I always thought that. And then Talia started streaming on YouTube, and for some reason that didn't seem as scary to me, because I was like, YouTube is like, I'm familiar with it. I know YouTube way more than I know Twitch. Like before I joined Twitch, I didn't know a single thing about it. So I was like, oh, that seems more like less scary, because I kind of like, she's literally just, doing what she does, but she's recording herself live. I was like, okay, that seems less intimidating. So she'd done it for a bit, and then I thought, you know what, I might try it as well. And then I started streaming on YouTube, and that's when it kind of like all fell into place. And then I moved over to Twitch like a year later. Yeah, a year later. Well, maybe just under a year. But yeah, and I think it was the best thing that I've ever done career-wise, is to move over to Twitch for streaming, because obviously Twitch is a streaming platform, so it's always going to be miles better than other places. But YouTube was like my beginning, so it still holds like a special place, But I'm so glad that I made the move over.
What was the transition like from, because you mentioned about being able to be in control of your content in terms of cuts and stuff like that. What was it like having to transition from that to being in control of not only cuts, but what you say in terms of it's always live? You're always live. You're always in front of an audience.
Yeah.
Things can be taken out of context.
I know.
People can react in different ways to the way you anticipate. What was it like for you going from being able to read a comment and go, okay, that's something I can think about, versus now this is someone in front of me wanting a response from what they're saying?
I would like to say, like, firstly, that Josh forced me to go live on my very first live stream. Like, he literally just clicked live and I wasn't ready. I was like, wait, what? Because I was like, I want to go live, but I'm scared. And Josh was like, just like do it, like just like test it out. And I was like, nah, I'm too scared. And then he literally just click live, and I was like, what the freak? And then my first live stream was just a mess. But once I started doing it, I think I actually am better suited to live content, because I mean, a lot of people who know me, I am quite outspoken. I like to voice my opinions. I would say I'm quite opinionated. And actually, if I do get someone like saying something about something that I've said, or just giving their opinion, and I think it's rude, or I don't like it, or whatever, I'm quite okay at handling myself. So I actually think it's quite liberating being able to just tell them, like, because that person is probably the same person who leaves, you know, hate comments and stuff. So it feels quite nice just to be able to say it then and there, like, you're a dickhead, or like, I don't know, like, do you know what I mean? Like, just to kind of like defend myself a little bit, or like not say, oh, like, you're a dickhead, but to explain something more, and like to, I don't know, I think I'm better suited to it because I'm not afraid to stand up for myself. Whereas on a comment, if you reply back to a comment, that comment stays there on your video for ages, and then you get people being like, oh, like, you bit, like, or like, you shouldn't like react to hate and stuff. Whereas if it's on a stream, it's like in the moment. Whereas you can decide to reply to a comment, and you shouldn't, more so than not, you know, like.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I'm better suited to it personally.
I always found that as well. Like the way I would explain it was because I started with YouTube first, and I'd spend hours and hours editing a video and then wait until a certain day to put it up and be like, here is my work.
Yeah.
And then after the week or so of like creating this content and stuff, someone might comment saying, I hate it. It's awful.
So true.
And the thing is like on Twitch, like, and again, this is just in terms of the difference between the two rather than slating one or the other. The difference is that you can have that feedback immediately, whether or not it's good feedback or bad feedback. You get the feedback immediately, which means that you save yourself a lot of time knowing, hey, this isn't something that people necessarily want to watch. And you also get almost a better chart of what people who are watching you want to see.
Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because I mean, I guess with YouTube as well, you like clickbait your thumbnail, you clickbait your title, which is obviously the creator's choice to do that. But unfortunately, like, that is what YouTube is about. Like, you do have to have like a standout title and a standout thumbnail. Like, you just do, like, to kind of like get recognized or like pushed or whatever, like, into the algorithm. Because if people don't click, then you're not going to be entered into any kind of, you know, algorithm on YouTube. So you do, to a certain extent, have to clickbait a little bit, whether that's the title or the thumbnail. And because of that, people, you know, hate on it. But this is a big difference with Twitch and YouTube, like making videos and streaming, is you have to kind of get some crap in order to grow a little bit, I've found anyway. I don't know if that's just me. I don't think it is, because it's something that I've heard from a lot of people as well. But as you said, if someone doesn't want to watch my stream, they're not going to leave a hate comment and leave. But if someone doesn't want to watch a video, or like they don't like the video, a lot of people feel like inclined to leave a hate comment first and then leave. And it's like, just go. But I don't get that on Twitch. Like, if someone doesn't like my content, they'll just like leave, and I'm like, alright, cool. Like, I don't really get that much crap on Twitch, which is refreshing, because on YouTube, it's a different story.
Yeah, I think it comes down to the anonymity of it all. Like, on YouTube, people aren't researching who it is that sent this comment, going back, trying to go through that stuff. Whereas, you know, your reputation, I guess, on live streaming platforms is, it's easier to tarnish if you are going around saying negative things. And the thing is that there are consequences. So if people get banned and stuff like that, then they go, hang on, my ability to to talk has gone.
Yeah.
And at that point,
Good point.
that is really, that's a real.
You can ban people on YouTube, but I don't really ban people on YouTube. Because I just see it as a comment. Whereas on Twitter, I guess I see it more as a person. I guess it's really weird logic, but whereas if it's a comment on YouTube, I'm just like, oh, that's just a hate comment, and I don't really do anything about it, which is weird. I guess it's just a thought process. I don't know.
I think maybe it's something to do with the fact that on YouTube, if you ban the comment or block the person or whatever, it doesn't mean they're not going to watch your videos. Whereas with a live stream, someone could be there for the entirety of your live stream. They could be there for hours, hating on your content and stuff. And it becomes more than one hate comment. It becomes hundreds. And I think a lot of people tend to think about their reputation more.
Yeah.
I'd say when it comes to their username on live streaming sites like Twitch or Facebook gaming and stuff like that. I think it was an interesting one. I know you brought up as well, like in terms of Josh had to help you the first time you went live for pushing the button because you were too scared.
Yeah.
Is that something you still get?
What, scared to go live?
Do you still worry about hitting the go live button from time to time, or is that something that you grew out of?
Scared? No. I think for me, I overthink. I'm a bit like you, I guess. I overthink as well. And like sometimes I can just have days where I'm just anxious and I just don't want to go live just because I'm like for no reason. But I actually have noticed that if I'm anxious on that day, I think I can get out of it if I like I'm in the right, like if I put myself in the right mindset. I think I can help myself. Like I've started to wake up and I get in the shower straight away, and that might seem so normal to so many of you, and it used to be so normal for me. Like when I had a normal job, I would wake up and shower and go to work, whereas now I wake up, I go get a coffee, I'll like lounge about the house, I'll like do some like emails or whatever, but I won't shower until I stream. Whereas the past 3 weeks I've been waking up, showering, and it sets my day up in such a different way than it did before. And I think having structure in our jobs, because our jobs are we're self-employed, so we can work whenever we want. I think having structure for me anyway is really, really important. So I think I can control my anxiety a little bit more than I could because I'm ready for the day. Like I don't feel like I've been unproductive. I don't feel like I've been lazy. I don't feel like I've wasted a day. If I wake up, shower, and do shit like that could be anything. Like that could be posting an Instagram story, because that is essentially like I need to be posting more. I need to be tweeting, doing stories. I need to be active. Like so even if I do that, I feel better. And then also if I wake up and shower, I'm more likely to stream earlier, like and get more hours in. Like I don't know.
What was a normal day in the life before you were a streamer? Yeah.
I used to be I used to work at I forgot, obviously I used to work at Sidemen. So I worked at Sidemen Clothing for 3 or 4 years. 4 years? It was a long freaking time. And it was the best job I've ever had. Like it is as amazing as it sounds.
You hear that chat?
It was so good. But a typical, like at the start my days were really loose, so like it was just me and Lewis, and we would start whenever. So I would come in at like midday or 1 to work. Whereas,
you get to work, you shower, you'll be like, I'm ready for the day.
No, like I'd have more structure, but like towards like the last 2 years, we started to hire employees and stuff, so we had to have like, you know, a normal working day, and so the hours were and still are 10 till 6. So I would wake up at like 8 or half 8, because I live quite far now. I would wake up like 8, half 8, and then I'd get in the shower, drive to work, and then I'd be at work all day, and then I'd come home, and then I'd stream I'd come home, I'd go to the gym, and then I'd come back and I would start my stream at like 10 p.m. and I would go till like 1. I do like 3-hour streams, and then I'd come off and I would do that again. But then I went down to part-time, and that helped me so much because I was like, oh, this is just a lot, because I was trying to do my streaming thing, and then but I was like full-time at Sidemen, and I knew that I couldn't be a Sidemen forever. Yeah. So I was like, I need to do something for myself, and yeah, that's basically what my day used to look like. I used to work at Sidemen Clothing and get loads of free clothes.
But full-time?
Yeah,
I think that's always interesting to talk about, is there are a lot of people out there that still work full-time jobs on top of streaming.
I know, it's crazy.
Even partnered streamers and other stuff like this, people who are verified, they still have to work full-time jobs to have some kind of security with their financial situation. So
I am definitely very privileged to be in the position that I'm in. I completely am aware of that. So yeah, like that is very, very true. I think it's important to remember that I didn't just quit my job and start streaming. Like,
yeah, what is it like for you having variable income? Like 1 month you could be earning X amount, and the next month you could be earning a lot less or a lot more. Like, what's that like?
It's not. It doesn't. I mean, it's not as bad anymore because I have got different revenues now of income. Like I have Twitch. I then have YouTube still, but like not that much. But I still do get a monthly income from YouTube, and then like my brand deals and stuff like on socials has increased over the past year because I've joined a management agency, and they've helped me like get way more brand deals and stuff, which is good. But I mean, I guess the fact that it could all be taken away is really scary. Like, just because that could happen, like I could suddenly get cancelled. I mean, I personally think that JJ is correct. I think the only person who can cancel you is yourself, because if you let people cancel you and then you just stop posting, you've essentially cancelled yourself, because you know what I mean, like you need to just continue like doing you. But I guess it is quite scary, like if people just suddenly like just don't want to watch me on Twitch, or if people just don't want to subscribe anymore or whatever, that is a big chunk of my income like gone. So it's unsettling for sure, but it's part and parcel of the job, I guess.
I guess you use it to motivate you more. Absolutely,
yeah, for sure. Like if I feel that I haven't streamed enough, or like if I've taken like one too many days off in a month, I'm like, I need to make up those hours in another stream. Like I'll do like a longer stream or whatever, just to make sure that I am not, because I also don't want to take it for granted, you know what I mean? Like I'm lucky to be where I am, and I wanna deserve it. So
I don't think I've ever experienced a job profession more where people feel guilty for taking days off than streaming.
So right, you're so right.
It is
I think
kind of heartbreaking to watch people.
I don't think it's the stream. Josh is the exact same, like with YouTube and stuff. Like I think just being self-employed, because I would also say the same about my dad. My dad likes to have a day off, but I mean, this was before Corona and like when my dad, you know, actually had a job. But yeah, he wouldn't let himself take days off because he is the sole provider of my family. So if he took a day off, that's a risk, I guess, because it's like, you know, I need to be providing. So I think like for us in particular, but I do think in general people who are self-employed feel that way, like especially people who like run a business, which we essentially kind of do now, like we are kind of our own business. You definitely, it's motivating though. I think it's a good thing, but I agree with you with the guilt thing. Oh my God, I get that so bad.
Is there anything that helps you work past that when it comes to like mindfulness about your mental health and other things like that, in terms of getting apprehensive or
I guess just reassuring myself that you're not a robot, you're a human. So if you want to take a day. But I always, like, there are definitely days where I need a day where I literally do nothing. I know that like people like Talia, she doesn't like doing nothing, and that's her way of like coping with that. And I get it. Like I could only have one day like that, because if I have more than that, I start to feel really guilty about it. But I think being productive, even if I'm not streaming or making content, is how I get through it as well. Like, and that could be doing something like that's not to do with work. So I don't know, just like still having structure to my day, or like, I don't know. I mean, COVID is here, so you can't really do much, but but yeah,
Yeah,
I guess
we
just
should talk about that too.
what COVID.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, finish your point.
No,
Sure.
like I didn't really have much else to say. Just I
I'd
like
agree
to
with.
have structure with my day.
I definitely agree with the idea of your outlook can ultimately depict what kind of day you have, because a lot of people say, if I'm not being productive, then I don't feel like I'm achieving. Whereas taking time for yourself sometimes can be the most productive thing you can do in the
Yeah,
day.
for sure.
And I think
Agree.
it's hard to change that mindset for some people from time to time.
And I think it varies from person to person how much like that is important to them as well. Do you know what I mean? Because like sometimes I'm like, oh, like just take a day. Like if you need to take a day, then take a day. But some people, I don't know. Like I feel like some people would actually benefit from doing more. Is that bad to say? Because I think
No.
sometimes I think like I know from personal experience. I actually made a video at the very start of last year, just talking about how much time is too much time. Like when is taking a day too much? And like maybe I don't need to take a day. Maybe I just need to get off my ass and do something. Do you know what I mean? Like sometimes I get torn with that a lot. I'm like, do I need a day or am I being lazy? I don't know. And I have that battle a lot. So I think some people, me myself included, I would say just get up and do something. Like because but that's for me because obviously I know what's going on in my head. I don't know. It's really hard to explain.
I think, ultimately, like even with this podcast, it's something that I've wanted to do for a long time. And I've always told myself like, hey, I could do podcasting again. Like since it was something I did in the past and I felt like I did it quite well, to then sit there and be like, you might see other people come out with content first. And
Yep.
again, not to say any names or anything, but like obviously everyone has an opinion when it comes to stuff that you might consider more mediocre than others. You have to also be aware that their mediocre work, by that logic, like in that person's head, if their work is mediocre but you're not releasing any work, their work is exceptional in comparison to your
so
no work.
True.
So it's like at that point, who is the one being mediocre? And I think that like ultimately is coming off the back of your point of like, I think it's a really tough battle to deal with as to whether or not you're being lazy or not being as productive as you could be when we don't know our own limits, we don't know our cap, and a lot of the time we have to push ourselves above and beyond our limitations to figure out where our limits are in the first place.
And I think that's hard to say to someone because you don't want to say, come on, like, because you don't always know what they're going through and blah, blah, blah. So like, it's very hard to say that to some people because you don't want to upset them or you don't want to appear insensitive. But sometimes like from the outside, it's like, come on, like, bro, like you, like just do it, like just do it, like you'll feel better for it if you just do it. And yeah, I don't know, but I know that that's really hard to say because you just don't know what they're dealing with or going through or whatever. So I guess it's like a default to be like, oh, it's okay, like just take a day off. But maybe we should be saying, if you really, really feel like you need a day off, cool, like I will fully back that. But I would say to push and like try and do more because I think you'll feel better from it. And that's from experience. I know I feel 10 times better when I'm like doing stuff and like working and being productive and stuff. And like when I'm in my flow, that's when I feel the best. So
absolutely. Yeah. I find a lot of the time that days off can definitely stunt or stall my progress of like where I was at. And like I was saying before, ultimately there's always going to be somebody out there doing it.
Yeah.
So
and doing more.
And and doing more. So and I think that's an important thing to remember when it comes to streaming especially. And I've talked about it in many respects of it's like trying to cash in a lottery ticket, but every day you have to buy the ticket. You know, if you're not streaming, if you're not there, you're not buying the ticket. So how can you expect people to win the lottery if they don't have the ticket in the first place? So speaking of lottery tickets, you know, speaking of winning the lottery, you and Josh recently had your 10-year anniversary.
We did.
Which is congratulations. Oh, also Happy New Year, I guess, because I don't know if we've said it. This is the beginning of the year and all that stuff. But
yeah,
I guess what I was going to bring up from that being that you're both, and again, I don't like the word content creators because everybody can create content, but I don't really influencers. Like, what's your choice word?
I'd rather content creators than influencer.
Interesting. Okay, as a person who does stuff on the internet in exchange for money, clearly entertaining people, making people happy in exchange for money.
That still sounds.
How has it been for you and Josh both doing streaming? Like, in terms of what sacrifices have you guys had to make as a couple, or changes that have happened since you both stream? Because I always think it's really interesting.
So I feel like I have a lot to say on this topic because I don't know if this is the popular or unpopular opinion, but we've actually worked so much better since we've both started doing content creating. When I was at Sidemen, it wasn't as bad either, but when I was working as an estate agent in London, my hours were long as hell. I was working from 8:30 till 6:30. I don't know, it was just grim. And I hated that job. And that probably contributed to it as well, you know, seeing Josh loving his job and appearing to have fun all the time in his gaming videos and stuff. And I'm just here like selling crappy flats to clients. My clients were always lovely. Like, that was the best part of the job. But
you don't work for them now, but
I don't. But yeah, I would say that since becoming a content creator, I have understood more what it's all about. I've understood his day-to-day more so. Like, there'd be so many times, well, Josh used to have a really bad schedule and that used to get on my nerves because I would wake up at 8:30. And sometimes he wouldn't text me till like 5 p.m. and he would just wake up. And I'm like, I've got an hour and a half left of my day at work. Like, and you've just woken up. Like, what the hell? But then he'd wake up and he'd like go to work. And like, we would literally barely talk. Like, it was like we talked, but it was like broken text, you know, it was hard. Like, it was really, really hard. And I wasn't happy. And I don't know if he was or not, but So I left that job. It was making me unhappy and it was putting so much strain in our relationship. I probably shouldn't have let it do that, but I did. And left the job, and then Josh just said about working for Sidemen. And since then, because it was the Sidemen clothing used to run out of their house. I
remember seeing it in the videos and stuff.
So I would go to the house and I would see him and I would work with Lewis all day. And then me and Josh would go to the gym together in the evenings and I would just see him more. I would spend more time with him and blah, blah, blah. And then when I moved in with him and we both do content creating now, I am so much happier. Like, we're doing better, like, as a couple for it because I see him more. Obviously, I live with him. We're both very busy, but we do spend time together more so than we did before. And I think where I'm also in a happy job now and, like, I'm happy doing what I'm doing, that is no longer an issue. Like, I don't know, because I would just see him being like happy and excited and telling me all these exciting things that he's doing, where he's going, like he's traveling and all this stuff, and I'd be like, oh, I'm just like being left behind. Like, it kind of felt like I was, even though he wasn't doing that, it just kind of did. And yeah, I just feel 10 times better now that we are both doing the same thing. Like, I feel like more on par with him, because that was always another issue as well, I guess. Like, not understanding his world and not understanding what he actually does and like his day to day. And now I do. So I don't know, just feel happier for that.
I think another nice thing about it, in terms of streaming, especially having watched you both on Twitch for a long time, is the fact that you have different audiences entirely. Like you
Oh yeah.
still, in terms of your day, you still have time apart. You still have your independence. You still
Mm,
have your own audiences. You have
yeah.
time away from each other to have things to talk about. And I think
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people kind of always assume, or I've seen it in the past, people come up and be like, "Why aren't you playing with Josh? Why aren't you doing this with Freya?" You know,
Mm,
and they're not necessarily recognizing that your days are completely different, even though
mm-hmm.
you do the same thing.
So something funny about that is that like whenever I go to stream, because I am normally live before Josh, like we always say we always say like goodbye and like love you like before our
Yeah,
streams, and my mum finds that really funny, but it's because I'm going to work
yeah,
and I'm going to be live for like 6 hours, and then when I come off, Josh is live, so I won't see him
exactly.
for like an 8 hour like period, which is essentially like a day at work, like for
Hmm.
like a normal like 9 to 5 or something. Like we say goodbye and then we come out and we talk about our streams or like what we've been up to or something that's happened in our day. Like you're right, we definitely have like very different days. Like he's busy. Like that boy is busy. Like people know that he's busy, but he's busier than that. Like he's a very
He's one of the
busy man.
busiest people I've ever
Yeah,
had the pleasure of meeting.
he's
And just in
always
terms
got a
of,
million things going on.
I think that's what always surprised me. Whenever there were moments where I'd be like, "Oh, I didn't want to disturb him," and stuff, like playing games with him, and he was like, "Yeah, but this is my time to play games."
Yeah,
You know that, and
yeah,
that really like shifted my viewpoint on it. Was like he, as sometimes I think it can be intimidating to see people who have such busy schedules,
yeah,
who then are also human beings.
yeah.
And that in itself is weird, and
I agree with that.
that's always been something that I guess I found the more I went through life was meeting more and more of the people that I respect. The more I found out, like, oh, they are just regular human beings who
Mhm.
require contact
Yeah, yeah,
and
for sure.
communication and all that stuff too. And I think that's something that people, especially viewers, struggle to sense. And I've even had it happen recently where people have messaged me and been like, "Hey, really love your content and all that stuff," and I'll respond back being like, "Thanks, it's so nice to hear that I've helped,
Yeah,
in whatever way it is." And then they go, "I never thought you'd respond." And it's like,
yeah,
why?
yeah,
Like why? What at what point did your brain say, "Hey, this guy wouldn't have time to
yeah. I
like
hear that.
take the time to respond?" And don't get me wrong, I'm sure as you get through and progress with your audience, it gets harder and harder to keep
Yeah.
tabs on everything like that.
It
But
is interesting though how we do idolize people. Like, because I know that of like being a content creator myself, I have people in my stream saying that I inspire them, I motivate them, and all this stuff. And I understand it, but at the same time, I don't, because I'm just like you though. Like
mm,
I've literally just done life the way that you've done it. In fact, worse, because you've gone to uni, you've got A levels, like you've got all this. I didn't get that, so I'm just like, how are you gonna idolize me when you're literally out here doing bits like with your schoolwork and like all of that? But it is interesting, isn't it, how we idolize people and like just because we sit and talk to them. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, why do they idolize me? Because I'm just sitting here playing a game, and chatting. Do
What
you know what
if
I mean? Like,
it's
when you strip it back and simplify it, it's really sweet and it's like humbling, but it's also like, I wonder, like, it's just the way that humans are, I guess, right?
I've having so my experience moving from YouTube to Twitch was because it became such a saturated market. I didn't know much about tags and clickbait and thumbnails. Like I was just very much like, hey, I'm just gonna put stuff out there and I hope
Yeah.
it hits.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't in the same way. Um, so moving over to Twitch in 2016, I was a viewer. So coming in, I definitely understand why the idea of going from like, hey, I've come in, I've interacted with a streamer, they've interacted with me, can build a rapport on that side as the viewer's side much more than it would on the streamer's side. And that doesn't mean that you can't create friendships and all that stuff, but when a streamer is responding to hundreds of people, it's easy to look at it from a viewer's perspective as more than it is.
Yeah.
A lot of the time. And I think that can sometimes build this infatuation with other people, and then things tend to hurt more when they
like you
turn around and,
or something,
and yeah, exactly. So I've always struggled with people saying like, hey, you missed that, or like, I'm gonna go because I'm being ignored and stuff, and it's like that it's rough. But in terms of what I was gonna say, was, you know, obviously you've influenced a lot of people and inspired a lot of people, but who inspires you? Who is it that influences you?
Is it really a crap answer to say Josh? Because he does
10 years together. That's yeah.
Like
what a terrible answer.
No, it's I guess it's just a bit boring, but I would say Josh, just because his hard work is that relentless. Like, he has been going non-stop for the past 10, 11 years. And I just think that's nuts. Like, he's never burnt out. He's never stopped. He's never broken down, or like, he's never had a moment where he's like, I can't do this anymore. Like, he's just gone, and he's not only just gone, but he's made it even better. Like, he's helped keep the Sidemen alive. He has structured them and organized them in a way that they needed. And like, all the boys have their role. They all do. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say that, like, Josh does it all, like, blah, blah, blah. No way. Like, they all have their role, but his role in the group is the daddy role. And he does organize a lot of stuff and gets people together. And a lot of people say that he's like the glue that holds them together, which I don't know. I just think his work is just like, it could never be me. And I don't say that to try and put myself down. I don't know. I guess I just don't have that kind of work ethic, and that's okay. Like, I think I'm like, what I'm doing now, I'm happy with it and I'm enjoying it and it's fun. But he always wants to do more. He always thrives to be more busy and to do more things. So, and I just find that fucking insane. So yeah, I would say him, like, 100%. Who would you say?
Oh gosh. Well, I mean, I'm talking to one person that's inspired me for a long time. So,
stop.
you know, since, and again, I'm not saying this to brownie points, and you know that because I've known you long enough to not want to bother with that, obviously. But yeah, in terms of, I guess I watched yours and Josh's progression through watching the Sidemen and stuff like that for a very long time. So, and the first time that you and I met in terms of streaming, well, technically the first time I watched you stream was on YouTube. I watched some of your YouTube gaming stuff. You were playing Animal Crossing, and like I explained to you the other day, you missed all of my messages. It was impressive, honestly.
That game, I mean, it's like Minecraft. Like, I get so engrossed in what I'm doing on that game. Like, I don't know. I guess I think
it was just a different experience in terms of like the way you read chat, the way you interacted. Like, seeing you now, like having been a streamer for 4.5 years, like, just the change in you was drastic.
Really?
In terms of, yeah, like, absolutely. You went from struggling to have focus on more than one thing to being able to, like, to separate that part of your brain and go, hang on a minute, like, both of these things are as important as each other. And I think that's something that a lot of streamers struggle with. And don't get me wrong, there are absolutely streamers out there that people go watch for their Twitch skills. Like, when it comes to BRs and, you know, shooting games in general and stuff, people will go there because they want to see skill.
Yeah.
And like those people know that that streamer is focusing 100% on the game.
Yeah.
And then maybe
Definitely.
they'll get to be able to say a message in between every now and then. Whereas when it comes to streamers that I massively respect, I guess one of them as well is his name's Ray Narvaez Jr. He was a part of Achievement Hunter, Let's Play, all this stuff on YouTube, which was like an American group from a long old time ago. So, and he moved over to Twitch, and in the first week of him being on Twitch, the amount of love and support that he got, that he earned over $20,000 in his first week on Twitch, because people wanted to support him having a solo career, like being self-employed, like they wanted to help him for all the content he'd helped create for them. Ray is one of those people that anytime I've gone into his chat, he is always talking to people, and that's something that really inspired me. Like he even if it's not directly responding to messages, he's always talking to everybody there.
Yeah.
And I think that for me was a big like wake up call. And I got to meet him back in 2016 at a convention at one of the Insomnias, which I think you were at as well, you've said, or we talked about this.
Yeah,
it was like
probably,
I-59 or something. So being at the same convention, which was weird to think about.
So weird.
But yeah, I got to meet him and Tina, who's they're engaged or they're married, can't remember which, but yeah, like getting to meet someone like that who was the exact same in person, really that was it for me, I guess, with Twitch. Was like he's genuine, or was being genuine the entire time, didn't change. And I think that was one of the most inspiring moments for me, I guess, walking away from that interaction with him and going, these are two people that I respect massively, and they have been just genuine the entire time. And I think for me, even though it took me a long time to learn about myself and what I wanted from my content, I definitely then started changing up my content from, hey, I need to please everybody that comes in, to, hey, I need to just be myself, and if people don't like that, then they don't have to watch.
100%. It's so true. I think it's easy as well to get kind of caught up, I guess, in like wanting to please everyone and wanting to be everything, whereas you just have to be yourself, and that's when you'll build up the most genuine community, because people are there because they like you and what you do, not because you're trying to be someone or something else on Twitch. And also it's really hard to keep that up. Like if you're going to try and put on a persona and you stream every day, that is bloody, I would say it's near impossible to do. So yeah, I would completely back that. Always got to be yourself if you want to do streaming or whatever.
I think that goes back to what you were saying before about how, you know, people were inspired by you or idolize you. There are also going to be people out there that just don't like you. And I think that was something that you taught me a lot, was the idea that, you know, firstly, there's almost 8 billion people in the world. So chances are that some of them probably don't like you, and whether or not that's your fault.
And not everyone has to like you. Like, who cares?
Exactly.
Like, who cares? Like, if someone's like, oh, I don't like this girl or guy, I'm going to like click off. Okay. Like,
and some people are going to love you.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I think the interesting thing of what you were saying about people idolizing you is, like, I've had comments on videos before where it was, hey, you know, I love watching your content. I'm going to follow you till the end. And I've always responded to those and said, thank you. Like, I appreciate the message, but please don't say that to people, because ultimately I want to be held accountable for my morals and my ethics. If I'm not lining up with what other people like feel is morally right, then call me out on it. In the same way that I'd hope that I would have enough respect for that person to do the same thing. And again, I think that's a big portion of why a lot of streamers get into positions of like almost power because they have such a following of people that just
cultish.
idolize them so much that they just go and do whatever it is they want them to do. And that is definitely something that can be scary, because how do you approach that anyway? Because it's tough when you have thousands of people watching you. You've got to pick and choose your battles.
100%. Agree with you.
So let me go to my list.
My list.
Here's a good one. What do you feel sets you aside from other streamers?
I don't like this question because I don't like talking about myself in that way.
I know, which is why I picked that question.
That's not very nice.
Oh.
I think when people come on my stream, what you see is what you get, kind of thing. I don't think I would struggle to be someone else on stream. Like I'm very, as I said earlier, I'm very like outspoken and opinionated, and you either like me or you don't. And I think some people.
What do you like
comfort.
about you?
I don't know.
If you had to sit there as like a almost out of body
I think
experience,
I like that about me. I like that
you're outspoken.
Yeah, because I think being a woman as well, I think it's important to be outspoken and to
for sure
have your voice heard. So I like that I am brave enough and have the ability to do that. Because I know that a lot of people don't, like girls and boys, a lot of people don't stand up for themselves, or like not even for themselves, but like for what they believe in and stuff. Like people ask me why I'm a vegetarian, people ask me why I'm this, why I'm that, and I don't bullshit. I say I don't want to eat animals, like that's it. And like people don't like hearing that, because a lot of people who eat meat or whatever, I mean this is going off topic, but they don't want to hear that, you know, they're eating an animal. Like even if they're okay with it, they don't want to hear it, because it's just, I don't know, I guess it's just a human instinct to not want to talk about that kind of thing. But I don't know. I guess that is what I like about me, is the fact that I have the ability to voice my opinion and stick by my guns a lot of the time. Whereas I know that a lot of people struggle with that, and I think a lot of my audience respect that about me, which is why people, I guess, like to watch me. Well, some people do, is because I'm honest with myself and like with other people. So I'd say that maybe.
That's definitely one of your qualities, your strong qualities, I'd say, is how genuine you are. And I think I
try really hard to be genuine, like very, very hard, because I just think it's important, because Twitch is saturated, man. Like there's a lot of people who are streaming and who are trying to stream. So the best thing that you can do is be yourself. And if that for me is like wanting to talk about topics that people don't normally like to talk about, I'll talk about it, because I don't know, I just think it sets you apart, right? Like, because if you just constantly do, I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but I just think it's important to be yourself, and I think that's why people like to come on my streams, because I'm quite honest. But also quite nice. I think I'm a nice gal, you know.
You keep saying quite nice. You are nice.
I'm a nice gal.
You are.
Thanks.
In terms of, you said in that about how, you know, there's a lot of people trying to be streamers and stuff like that. For the Q3 of 2020 with COVID and stuff, which obviously I guess we're getting back to now in terms of what we're talking about. Hence why I've got all this hair that I keep brushing out of my face. Is that over 10 million people streamed on Twitch alone in Q3. So
like that's like August
time,
yeah.
For on Twitch alone, and only 31,000 of those people were partnered streamers. So out of 10 million people that streamed at least once, there is now, you know, you're in the top 0.3% of streamers by that logic alone. And apparently there are only 3,500 people that have over 100,000 followers. Have you really?
Damn, that's crazy.
Have you really considered quite how much of
No.
an effect you have on people, and just how much you inspire people to get to a point where you have become part of these 0.03%.
I think this is where it's easy to be hard on myself here, like so easy, because
That was also terrible maths, by the way. It's like 0.1%, but
yeah,
still.
yeah. I mean, this is me. I don't know maths. So this is why it's so easy for me to just be like, well, I'm lucky because I'm dating a massive YouTuber and I'm friends with other big streamers and blah de blah de blah de blah. And so I think it's easy for me to just like put it all down to that. And I think I still do partly put my success down to that. And I think that's okay to say, because I do think that I have had an advantage in this, like massively. But that doesn't mean to say that I haven't worked hard for it as well, and like really wanted it, you know, because I think it's easy for like someone's girlfriend just to start streaming, and like they'll stream like twice a week, and you know they get like 100 viewers because they're who they are. But I think it's different when you stream like pretty much every day, and you, as you said at the start of the podcast, like our audiences are different, like because he plays FIFA, I play Minecraft, like they're very very like different games. And so, and like he doesn't raid me that much, and I know that he doesn't raid me that much because he knows that I'm trying to build my own situation, you know. So what was the question? Sorry, I think I've like gone off track.
We're just talking about if you recognize just how much of a tool you have, I guess, in terms of like what you've created. And to go off of what you said there as well, like, you know, just because someone's had quote unquote a head start because of the people that they hang around with doesn't mean that you haven't worked hard to be in a position where you're hanging around with the people you hang around with. You know, like it goes above and beyond. And this is from just knowing you, Talia, all those people, in terms of like people that I'd now consider my friends. You don't just hang around with people because they want a head start or they want help. It's so easy to tell when someone is just there for numbers.
Easy to tell. It's so easy to tell. It's like it makes you cringe a little bit, because it's like because they probably don't think that it's obvious, but it just, I can't explain how it is obvious, but it just is. And that's one of the reasons why, like, I never for a second thought that you were like that. I don't know if that's like rude to say. I just did not think for a second that you were talking to me because I have more viewers than you on Twitch. I never once thought that. And I just
you had less followers than me at the time, so you got to remember who the big shot was at the time.
You know what? That is a fact. That is straight fact.
That is the one I said. That is the 1 year that I'm going to have more followers than Freya Nightingale. Was that first year on Twitch. But yeah, in terms of just to weigh in on it, at no point have I ever considered people anything more than human beings.
Yeah.
And as much as you might have millions of followers on whatever platform it is, that doesn't mean that those millions of followers should affect how I talk to you.
No,
when it comes to being a human being, you know, ultimately, like, and I've made a lot of friends that way, especially on Twitch, because I think a good example is Milk in a Bag. He's such a lovely guy. He's from Canada. He plays the video games. He also streams and stuff. And Milk, when I first met him on Among Us, I met him playing that game. We just hit it off. I just really like Milk. I thought he was a really cool guy.
Lovely.
And at the time, I think he was on like sub 2K followers and stuff. And I think a lot of people that we were playing with at the time kind of almost, I don't know if they wrote him off, but it definitely seemed like to some degree like he wasn't always the first thought.
Yeah.
And then Milk suddenly got a lot of popularity because, again, Milk is a lovely guy, and genuine people see that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think that's really important. And then obviously, like, he had JJ and other people that he was playing with the Sidemen, playing Among Us with them, and suddenly he shot up and got a lot more popular.
That's literally how it works. That is literally how it works. And
that's why you can't judge
no.
somebody based on numbers or their viewership and stuff like that. When it comes to Twitch, you are far more than just a number. And I think I've always taken that into account when it comes to, you are far more than just a username in my chat.
Yeah.
People get surprised a lot of the time when it comes to like people coming back in. I had someone come back into my stream after a year, and I asked her how her fiance was and whether or not she'd finally moved from France, and she gifted subs to the chat because she was so over the moon at the fact that I'd remembered her from a year ago.
That is pretty wild, to be fair, Gid. That is craziness.
Well, I think
I don't think I would have remembered. I don't know if that's me like putting myself down, but my memory is bad anyway. Like,
I think it just comes back to the fact of, like, when you're having genuine conversations with people on Twitch, you know when those people are genuine.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I was building off of there. Okay, what is something you'd like to achieve by this time next year?
This is one thing I haven't done yet. I haven't sat down and written down my goals, which I should have done at like the very, very start of the year. One thing I want to achieve, I guess more consistency across all of my socials. That is one thing I want to achieve, because that's super important to my job, especially on Instagram and stuff, because that's where I get a lot of like brand deals and stuff. So being active on there is so important. So I would say being more active, and also I think it's important to say that I want to just be at a point where I'm just happy and like content. I hope that I get there one day, because I feel like I'm not like Josh. Like, I don't think I need to be doing a million other things. But I just want to be really content in what I'm doing. All my friends who are around me, I want to, like, I mean, I feel like I'm there right now. Like, I've got a lot of really amazing people in my life, which I'm very thankful for. And also, I guess money-wise, I want to be content and just very settled. Is that the right word? Like, I'm not striving to make millions, but I want to, like, make a certain amount, I think, this year.
Mine has always been being financially stable, doing something that I love.
Yeah.
I think you can
agree
probably put that down as the same
100%,
thing.
Yeah. And Twitch and streaming is just something that I really do love. And whenever I hit, like, if I'm having one of those anxious days, or like a bad day, or like I've argued with a friend, or it could be anything, or like my family shit, I don't know, I click live and I'd see the names pop up saying, "Hello Freya, how are you? I've missed you, blah, blah, blah." I'm like, this is why I do what I do. Like, these people are just making my day, and they don't even realize it. But they always say that I make their day, but actually, without sounding really corny, like, I would say they do just as much to me as they say that I do for them. Like, 100%. Like, they make me happier. They clear my head. They put my problems into like perspective a lot. And I don't know, I just think, I'm very happy doing streaming, and I would love to make the most of that this year, for sure.
Do you think you've ever, or have you had messages from people that you've helped in terms of with mental health, or their mindfulness of other people, in terms of things that you've brought up or topics that you've talked about?
What, like in chat?
Yeah, just people that have interacted with you, that have seen or had some advice from you that's changed their day or changed their life even.
I don't know, maybe. I can't think of anything right now, but I say a lot of stuff in my streams. Maybe there's been something that I've said to someone, and Niall today actually, I guess. Oh no, it was yesterday. I think I said something because he was apologizing for something, and I was like, "You've got no reason to apologize, bro. Like, what are you saying sorry for?" And like, I didn't understand why he was apologizing. And I was like, if I've got a problem with like you or like one of my mods or like one of my viewers, I'll just send them a message and be like, don't do this next time because it does this and next, or like I don't like it when this happens, so can you do this instead? Or I would always bring it up to my mods, especially like if they're not doing something, or like if they're doing something that I don't want them to do, I will always bring it up to them. So I was just kind of like reassuring him, like, if there's ever a problem, like I'll tell you, like don't sit there and overthink it or like worry, because you know me, I'm very outspoken. I if I'm upset, I'll come to you and I will tell you, you know, that I'm upset. And he said, thank you, like you really put that into like perspective for me, like blah blah blah. And I guess that's an example, but
Yeah.
I don't know. There's probably been other things that I've said, but I don't know. I've not really remembered.
When it comes to, because you brought up moderators there, when it comes to moderators, how much do they affect your stream?
Oh my God.
And how do you go about picking your mods?
So my mods are really active in my chat. And sometimes I say I don't want to see a sword line in my chat.
A mod wall?
Yeah. I don't want to see that. So sometimes I'm like, mods, like settle down like a little bit, you know. But all my mods are all really good friends, which is really nice. They always welcome in people in my streams, and I don't know, they're kind of like me, I guess. Maybe that's why I picked them. But like they're open, they're honest, they are opinionated, and I don't want to have a mod that's scared to delete a message. That is definitely like not, like I need them to be like delete it or like whatever. So I like my mods play a massive part in my streams, like a huge part. A lot of them are like conversation starters. They create like running jokes in my streams, which I think are really important for like building kind of like a community and, you know, that kind of stuff. And yeah, they're a huge part in my chat. And I don't, how do I guess I pick them on how they talk to me in chat and how often they're in chat, because obviously if you're a mod, you need to be active in my chat, not active as in talking, but in my streams, I guess, often to understand what I do, how I like things, and I also need people to be there when I stream. So I guess familiar names, names that other people vouch for. I often ask my other mods who you think would be good to help you guys out with modding, because I trust their judgment sometimes more so than mine. So yeah, I guess that's how I do it.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes it's the equivalent of putting a new child into the playpen, you know, when it comes to mods, because ultimately if you don't let them have some level of say in it, it can be very easy to overlook how others might feel. And ultimately I'd say that, you know, what would your advice be to somebody as a smaller streamer starting out, when it comes to picking moderators? Does your advice change at all, or is it still a similar sort of thing? Yeah, with people with, you know, just a couple of viewers at the start of your streaming.
When you say a couple of viewers, you literally mean like a couple of viewers?
Yeah, starting from scratch as a Twitch streamer.
I
Let's
probably
say, for
wouldn't have any to
example,
start with, would you?
see, if I could go back, I'd probably be the same way.
Yeah, because like if it's just a few people, like the chat is going to be moving relatively slowly, so you could just delete any message.
Yeah.
And also, is it naive of me to say I probably wouldn't expect that much hate on a streamer who was getting like 5 viewers a stream? Is that
Yes,
naive to say?
that is naive, I'd say.
Do you reckon they get like a lot of random people coming in and?
Sometimes I've seen people targeted, based on the fact that, you know, they might be just, someone might go to a smaller directory intentionally to
That
try
is
and
wild to me. Like,
yeah,
why would you do that? Some people are just so spiteful.
Yeah, and I've seen people have like search through a directory and then intentionally send people over from their stream to hate on a person just for the sake of,
What?
just for whatever sake, you know, and it's been
Another content creator, another streamer.
another content creator.
That is
yes.
really sad. That's really
Yeah.
sad. Like
So
they must be very unhappy, like just
Mm-hmm.
in themselves, you know, like to want to do that to someone.
So when it comes to, I think, having mods, you know, again, I've been doing it for 4.5 years. There are definitely, you know, mods at the beginning where I feel like, hey, these people are going to be with me forever, you know, or stick around and all that stuff. And then, you know, some people have had like ulterior motives. Other times it's just been that you don't know them well enough. I'd say when it comes to modding someone for your chat, it's make sure you trust them. Like that is the most one of the most important things is making sure you have a level of trust that goes beyond a standard
face value.
Hey, this
thing.
person's
Yeah.
just viewing my content. Because I think a lot of people want to validate their streaming to begin with, which is what you were saying about, like, ultimately if there's not many people there to begin with, like there is a level of like wanting to try and validate your stream and be like, hey, I have mods, I have this, I have that. But genuinely now, if I don't have many people sitting in my chat, like I'm completely okay with modding myself.
Yeah, me
If
too.
if it's a specific game where where it's a struggle to tab out,
Yeah.
yes, it can be a pain and it would be a lot easier with a mod, but I'm still at no point do I feel pressured to not mod for my own chat. And I think that comes with like time for one, but secondly, it's your stream, and I think that's important for people to know, is like it's not your mod's responsibility to be at every stream and stuff like that, because ultimately a lot of people aren't paying mods to be there and stuff. And it's always something that I would love to, at some point in the future, if I got comfortable enough, be able to pay them a wage and be like, hey, you know, like
I think that though, like paying them a wage, I get why you would want to, but I think the fact that people don't pay them takes the pressure on them having to be there. Like, because if you were paying them a wage, and you had like 5 mods, like that's a lot that you'd have to be paying out. And I think the fact that we don't pay them means that there's no pressure for them to be there every stream. And I say this to my mods all the time. I'm like, look, if you guys can't make a stream, I'm sure that there's at least one of you who can. And if not, I will temporarily mod someone else who is in my stream a lot to mod for me on like this one occasion. Like I agree with like giving your mods like a bonus or like something like at the end of the year.
I guess that's what I mean. Like in terms of like making them recognize that they're appreciated.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Can be something beyond you know, because ultimately like people spend hundreds of hours potentially like modding for you, helping you achieve and stuff like that. So I guess in terms of just like the wage was always something that ever since I was a small streamer, I was like, man, it would be so nice to be able to like give back.
And I agree, like it would be so nice, but when I think about a wage, I guess it depends how much you're talking, but in my head a wage is like a living wage, right? That would be so much money. Like to fork out like to 5 people. I mean, I have more than 5 mods as well, so it'd be a lot. It would be a lot.
It would be.
But I do think that bonuses and like or like stuff like that
perks,
is a good idea.
I guess is probably a better word.
Yeah.
Giving them perks.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're sort of coming to a close in that regard with what we're doing here. So I'm just going to ask you one of the most important questions I have here, which is, if you were role-playing a villain in a new game, what would your character be called?
Why is this the most important question, Gidward?
I'd like to know.
Role-playing a villain.
Yeah. In a new game. You can pick whatever category of game you'd like, whatever genre of game. But like,
is it a villain who exists? Like,
you can make them up.
Right. I don't know. Can I hear yours? I need inspiration.
Geraldo.
Why?
I'm
Wait, you just said Geraldo.
I'm an evil giraffe trainer who has been around for a long time. He wears a mask and he kind of talks like this. Like,
Gerald
hello,
would
yes,
never.
my name is Geraldo.
Gerald more sounds like Elmo, okay? Hey everybody.
Oh. Is that really how it is?
Yeah, I think more of an Elmo type. Yeah.
And it sounds like you.
I guess like some kind of cat bitch, you know, like all
Would
in
that
black.
be your name? The cat bitch.
Yeah, but cat beach.
Is that and you'd eat nothing but cabbage? The cabbage.
It's clever, but I hate lettuce and shit.
I was
and cabbage.
vegetarian for a reason. I am the cabbage.
Cat beach. Oh my god, it does sound like cabbage. God damn.
That's what you've become now. The cabbage.
Yeah.
I would love to see some fan art.
Of me being a cabbage.
The cabbage. Yeah, exactly. I think that would be cool.
God damn.
If anybody out there, you know, it has a bit of a green thumb, and likes to do art.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
like
guess it'd be I'd be cat beach then, and he'd eat cabbage.
That's it.
Yeah, I'd like farm it.
Farm cabbages. Nice.
Yeah.
So just to sort of wrap up in terms of this being the first podcast back and all that stuff, and you know, obviously I'd like to get it more scheduled in terms of the things I'm talking about with people and all that. It's been really interesting to hear, you know, you give points on what it's like to be a streamer, especially after coming in from YouTube for so long. Is there any advice that you'd give to people that are trying to start now in such a saturated market, from in the same way that people going from YouTube moved over to other platforms and stuff like that?
I would say if you're like completely new to content creation as a whole, like no YouTube or anything, you just want to start streaming, to not give up your job to go full-time in it straight away. I think if you really want it, and I don't know if this is like wrong of me to say, then you would just do both, and like you would have to like try and make it work for as long as you can. Like even Steph, like if you look at Steph, like pastaroni, ravioli, your gal, she be out here doing some crazy ass job.
Yeah, she does a 12-hour night shift, and then finds time to stream in the day, and she works in a hospital, so she does a hospital shift all night and then comes back and
she's doing the most right now, and I think that is admirable, and I think people recognize that as well. And she doesn't just do like a 2-hour stream, she's streaming like for a long time as well, and she is making it work. And I know that she wants to do the transition into like being a full-time streamer, which I think is amazing. But she's doing what she has to do because she knows that she still has to have a full-time job for now, for the time being. And I think a lot of people think, oh, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to go like full head into streaming, which is a cool ethic to have. Like, I admire your determination, but I think realistically it is probably smarter to keep your job, but to also try and persevere streaming at the same time. And if you really want it, you can make it work. I did it for a long time. I know obviously Steph's doing it as well.
I did it.
Yeah. So I just think it's very, very important to think about and like to make sure that you've got money in the bank, you know. I would probably say that is what my advice would be, is to gotta cover your overheads. Yeah, don't be silly. Like, don't just go full steam ahead. I mean, that probably has worked for some people, and that's amazing. But I just think for the most part, just try and like it's hard, but just do both. Like, if you really want it, you'll make it work.
Who would you like to see next on the podcast?
Ooh. Who do I want to see next on the podcast? Who has got like a lot of insight? I would say G-Nels. Because G-Nels...
The G-Nelster?
Yeah, because she obviously has been streaming for 3 years. She's going to have a lot to talk about. She started her Twitch from nothing. So I think it'll be interesting to hear what she has to say on it all as well. So yeah, I'd say the G Star.
Absolutely. And in terms of, if you guys out there have enjoyed this podcast, then please make sure to do the various, whatever channel this ends up on.
Subscribe, leave a comment. Leave a comment.
Leave a comment. If there's anything that we've talked about that you'd maybe like me to ask towards other people, or anything specific that you'd need help or advice with when it comes to streaming. Like I said, with streamer consciousness, I really want to try and help the smaller creator find ways of piecing together what it would take to move to a next level and stuff like that, and trying to help people achieve in that regard. So yeah, as somebody that started from nothing as well, it's always been kind of an aspiration of mine to try and give back in a way beyond just the content itself. So like ultimately, yeah, if there's anything that people would want to add in that regard, then leave it in the comments and all that stuff. And hopefully we'll have some social media links at some point. Because again, this is the first podcast. I'll have to make sure I sort all that stuff out, won't I? So I'm gonna be productive with my day.
Let's go.
And I'm gonna do all that stuff. So yeah, well, hopefully we'll have them on the screen or something. I don't know.
Thank you for having me on as your first guest.
Of course, thank you so much for coming. I always said to you, I was like, hey, I'd love you as the first guest on the podcast. So
thank you for having me. It's been very fun, and it's been very liberating being able just to talk, and it's been nice, like a Freya with podcast to start the year. Things we love.
Would you come back to do another one
straight away? Yeah, easy claps.
All right, so yeah, if you have questions that you want to ask Freya in the future as well, then definitely write those in the comments as well. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.
Bye.